Truth Foundation Day and wishes all viewers a very happy Diwali.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Ask BQ on Bloomberg Quint. I am Agam Vakil. If you got questions on equity, this show is perfect for you. Send them to us on Twitter, Facebook and YouTube, or perhaps WhatsApp. And you can also, of course, call us on 022-4540-4141, or you can mail us your questions on askbq@bloombergquint.com. Make sure you do add the Ask BQ hashtag. Now, before we get in our individual queries here, let's quickly take a look at the Indian markets at this point in time. And we are seeing some amount of pressure when it comes to the Nifty as well as the Sensex. Don't forget, we have seen largely flattish moves, not too much to speak for when it comes to both these benchmarks. What's actually standing out in terms of movers and shakers, and let's bring in our top Nifty gainers at this point in time. We are seeing, well, again, some amount of movement when it comes to your OMC. So HPCL is advancing by around 4.5%, along with IOC and BPCL as well. Yes Bank advancing by 4.3%, and a whole set of stocks out there advancing on the back of, continuing decline in crude prices. So you also have Asian Paints advancing, Sun Pharma, BPCL and Adani Ports among others, which are also gaining in trade. Let's take a look at the losers then. And again, there are plenty of stocks from from the financial space as well as the IT space. Infosys is the top loser today. Bharti Airtel is the other one, and Hindalco is the third one. We also have some weakness in some of the banking names. So case in point, we have State Bank of India, for example, which is bearing down on the Nifty banking index. But this as far as your stocks are concerned. Let's get in two experts for the day. We have Kunal Rambhia of the Streets and Sandeep Jain of Tradeswift Broking joining us here to, well, answer all your queries. So welcome to the show, guys, and thanks so much for joining us. Let's quickly get on to it and start addressing queries. And the first one that comes on YouTube is from Praveen Dugar. His question is on, so he has a question on 3 counters. I'm going to take each one of them one by one. We're standing by and waiting for Sandeep to join in so we can take in the technical view on this one. First one is Dr. Reddy's. If we can pull up Dr. Reddy's right now on the screen and see what it's actually doing. Currently, it's actually, declining, and it's been on a decline since the start of the day. This is the intraday movement at 2,407 odd. And if we can pull up the 5-day moving, the way it's moved over the past 5 sessions as well. Let's take a look at that as well, if possibly we can, discern any trend. But Kunal, let's start off with this one. Your view on Dr. Reddy's. What would you ask the viewer to do?
So, since September, the stock is in the range of around 2,600 to 2,350. Now, that's a very broad range. Right now, the stock is near to the bottom itself, which is 2,350. Right. Keep the stop loss of around 2,350 and think of going long near 2,350 and keep the target of around 2,600. And by any chance, if the stock breaches about 2,600, then sky would be the limit for the stock.
All right. So Praveen Dugar also has a question on Cipla, and Cipla, of course, once again has been, well, on the losing end because of its earnings coming through. Not only did it come out with weak earnings, but since then we've seen quite a bit of a slide. It's currently at 528, coming from levels of well over 600 rupees per share. Kunal, what would you do with this one?
So, just now we were discussing the same stock on Hot Money. Now, the stock is clearly near to the 10 years trend moving average. Now, that trend line is starting from 2008 till now. The bottom is near to around 520 mark. If you are a positional trader and if you can hold the stock for a couple of more days, wait for the stock to give a closing, monthly closing, say near to 500 or say above 500. Keep the stop loss of 500 itself. By any chance, if the stock gives a closing below 500, exit the position. Otherwise, I'm expecting the bounce till around 625.
All right, and the third stock that Praveen had on his list was Balrampur Chini. This one again has been, it's seen a lot of movements along with the rest of the sugar pack, but currently it's up around 3%. It's at 108. Kunal, your view here.
So again, this Balrampur was our pick itself at around 75. Stock made a high of around 113. Now recently, if you can see, the stock is in the range of around 110, on the lower side say 105. So unless this range is taken out clearly, decisively on the higher side, I think the stock would continue to remain in the range. But otherwise, positionally, this stock is very strong.
Okay. So that's as far as Praveen's queries are concerned. We'll move on and take one from Harion Dhoot. And his question is on Mindtree. He says he has 50 shares of Mindtree at 806. His question is whether or not he should book profit or wait. It's currently at about 863, so he's clearly sitting on a considerable profit. And he's not given us a horizon. But I'm assuming this is a near-term question. So what would you do, Kunal?
So on 19th November, the stock gapped down open and it just fell down till around 750. His entry is fantastic, near to 800 mark itself. Stock is near to 200 days moving average. By any chance the stock goes above 875, expect the stock to reach around 920. Now 915 to 920 is a strong resistance. I would advise to exit at that point of time.
All right. Moving on, we have a question from Puneet Nanda on Aurobindo Pharma. So I'm not sure if he wants to hold for 2 to 3 months. Okay, and he has a holding of 2,000 shares at 600. It's currently at about 800. So he's clearly making a significant profit at this point in time. I'm not sure if he wants a view. I think he's just making a statement here, but we should address this one anyway. So Kunal, what would you do with Aurobindo Pharma?
No, because this viewer has the position since 600 mark. Yeah. I hope that he is a positional trader. Keeping that in mind, I can say that the stock is clearly making a flag breakout. The breakout is near to say around 780. This week the stock is giving a very fantastic closing. The near-term resistance would be say 830. Above 830, the stock can simply reach to 950 mark. Obviously, I'm very bullish on the counter. Keep the stop loss of 750 on the lower side and keep the position open. Okay,
well, let's then pull up Edelweiss because the next query is on that one. Sunan Chakravarti wants a long-term view on Edelweiss Financial Services. And ideally, I would also bring in a fundamental query, but we're just waiting on our fundamental guest to come in. So I'm going to take the way the technicals work out here. And again, Edelweiss is one of those other NBFC names which has corrected over the previous few months. Now, at one point in time, it had moved to levels of 140, and since then, it has recovered to 170. How does this one look on charts to you, Kunal?
So on a positional basis, definitely the stock just had a free fall from 320 mark, making a double top formation. The bottom was near to 140 mark. 140 to 170 is like a small pullback on the fall. I expect the stock to consolidate in the range of around 170 to 140 mark for a couple of months. If that happens, and if the stock continues, then the upward movement, then I expect the stock to recover significantly to around 280 mark.
All right. We have a bunch of questions based on the impact of the elections on the financial market. And once again, I'm going to hold on to some of these queries. But I would like to take up something like a power grid on a technical basis, because we do have one viewer who wants a view on power grid. Now, this one again, well, or if you consider the way it's panned out over the past 2 years, well, there isn't been significant return, but well, at least on the Bloomberg consensus, you do have a substantial amount of analysts out there putting a buy target on this one, buy signal on this one. That said, how does this one look technically to you at 191?
So yes, the stock is somewhat laggard. I would call it as a laggard because it's in the consolidation range itself. Right. On a monthly basis, if you want to look at positional way, then I would wait for the stock to give a breakout about 203, or say the ideal level to add would be say around near 180 mark. Either about 205 or say near to 180 mark, the stock can be taken for positional way. But by any chance, the closing of the stock for any week, for this stock for any week comes below 180 mark, I would completely exit the position.
All right. Okay, so let's address future consumer then as well, because we have a question from Gobind Vijay. Of course, he wants a fundamental view, and again, we'll wait and hold on for our fundamental expert to join in. But future consumer and how that looks, it's currently at 47. Again, a lot of volatility in this one, along with the rest of the retail space, currently up 3.5%. What would you do with this one?
So April 2017, this stock actually broke about 35 mark, and then we saw a staggering rally to around 80 mark. From that 80 mark, it has come back to the same level itself. It is retesting on a monthly basis. It's a fantastic buy. So any investor who wants to stay invested with this counter, it's a clear buy on dip. Keep accumulating till 42 mark. On the higher side, I'm expecting the stock to make a new high in a year's time itself.
Okay, let's pull up HDFC Bank, and I know that the question is on a fundamental basis, but I also want to take a check on what's really happening with this one, because honestly, in recent times, we did see it come off to a certain levels, and a lot of traders as well as investors were asking whether or not this is a good time to go in and buy into this bank, even if for a short term or a long term trade. It's come off from levels of 2200, now at around 1950. Kunal, your technical view on HDFC Bank?
Honestly speaking, since the stock has come down from 2200 mark, it's clearly in downtrend. It's just sell on rise kind of opportunity for short-term traders. Right now also it made a high which is 1975, which is near to 200 days moving average itself. I would not think of going long on this counter at any point of time unless it gives a closing above 1975 to say around 2000 mark. Keeping the stop loss of 1975, one can think of shorting the stock and expecting the stock to reach 1900. By any chance the stock goes below 1900, then we may foresee 1775 kind of levels.
Okay. I'm told that we have Sandeep Jain with us, so I'm going to quickly move across to him on some of our queries. Sandeep, I think we're going to start getting one very common question, and that will be with respect to the upcoming state elections and perhaps moving on the general election as well a little later on in next year. The question from Sudarshan is that considering the coming elections, what stocks would have the least impact? It could be sector, and if you actually have specific stocks, that could be helpful too.
See, I feel that, one should certainly stay with the defensives. It's very important that, one has to be extremely cautious during these volatile times. And I feel that, the next 5 to 6 months wouldn't be an easy cakewalk, where investors will make money. Since last 10-15 sessions, 5 sessions or 10 sessions, things were better. But then I feel that my market might face a resistance at around 10,700, and then the election results will in fact decide where the market has to go. So I feel defensives like IT, pharma, FMCG, then building materials, and then during the election time generally the liquor stocks also tend to do well. Then the consumption stocks also do well because the spending is actually higher in the system, and people might be spending on buying things for their voters. Lots of things are there. So I feel defensives is one strategy one should stay with.
Okay, Sandeep, I'm going to come in and get in your view on a bunch of life insurance companies, because we have a couple of viewers who want a view on this one. We've seen a correction in ICICI Prudential as well as something like an HDFC Standard Life. The question coming in from Raja Hanumappa is what would be a good entry price for either of them?
See, ICICI Pru gave a very good opportunity some days back, and in fact, I remember recommending on your channel also, at levels of say 315 to 330, those were good levels. And now even at these prices, I think it must be trading somewhere around 350, 360 levels. So this is also a good level to enter into the stock. I feel they have actually corrected very fast with the whole NBFC and the whole financials. So I think ICICI Pru and HDFC Life and SBI Life, all the 3 stocks are good bets, but extremely long-term bets. They are not a short-term bet. They have to be, held for a long time in the portfolio.
Okay, I believe we have a caller online with us. We have Raj R, who calls us from Bengaluru, the query. Hi Raj, tell us what would you like to know from our experts?
Thanks, Agam, and thanks to your panel. My query is on CG Power. I have about 9,500 with a 2 to 3 month outlook. Both the technical and fundamental view would be nice. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So let's take a look at CG Power. Let's see where that one's trading at right now. Of course, his entry price is at 38. It's currently at 36.5, so not too away from the current market price. Let's take a technical check first. Kunal, your view here?
So, considering the positional view on this counter, this stock had a blow-off from around 100 levels to around 36 levels. Generally, it is seen that once the stock reaches 50% from the top and there is a blow-off, that generally doesn't sustain, and that's what has happened last month also. I'm expecting a sharp pullback till say around 50 levels in a month or two's time itself. But by any chance it fails to surpass 40 and it remains laggard at this point of time at the same level itself, then I would turn cautious. Otherwise, I'm expecting a bounce till around 55.
Okay, Sandeep, come in on that one. This one, if you're tracking CG Power, how would you play around this one?
See, looking at the crack, actually it is unbelievable that the stock got corrected so heavily. But still, I would like to go with the technical analysis on this front, because since he has a holding period of 2 to 3 months, and the correction was so fast and so deep. So I think there will be a good bounce back. That's what I feel. And the levels of 50 can be achieved, because we have seen at the levels of 100 also. And in a very short span of time, it has been 1/3 of the high prices. So I think he should hold on to the stock, and it is somewhere closer to its bottoms only. I think the 52-week lows is around 34, and I feel that the pedigree is good, Crompton Greaves, and in fact somehow the power stocks are not doing well. So, but still, I feel he should hold on to the stock.
Okay, Raj, I hope that that has answered and helped you out with your view. But going in, we're going to take another technical view, and this one is on HPCL. We have Karthik K, and this is actually on an intraday basis that he wants to know what to do with HPCL. It's currently at around 240. He says that he's entered HPCL at 238. What's the intraday view? Kunal, your take here.
So, again, intraday views are, you need to change your views very fast. So, kindly don't curse me if the stock goes wrong. But yeah, definitely 238 was a main blow off for the day. From 235 to 239, the stock rallied in 15 minutes time itself. Keep the stop loss of 236 and hold the position. And by any chance it goes about 242, book your profits near 245.
Okay. There were a bunch of fundamental queries queued in, so I'm going to take two more on the fundamental. We have Gobind Vijay. He wants a fundamental view on Power Grid, and then he wants one on future consumer. So Sandeep, let's start with Power Grid first. How are you viewing the stock on a fundamental basis?
Yeah, see, I really like this stock, and I have been recommending this stock whenever I'm being asked on the power sector. The best part is the fundamentals, strong fundamentals, the quality of the balance sheet. Even after the correction, the valuations are very attractive. If you see, 52-week highs are 216 only, and then from there it hasn't corrected that badly the way other stocks have actually corrected. And then the best part is the stock is not as volatile as others. It's a kind of low beta stock, I would say, and I was talking about safety and defensive. So this is also one kind of stock which actually fits in my strategy of going with the safer stocks. So Power Grid is a good stock. I think one should certainly buy at these levels. When you can buy at these levels, and those who are holding it, they should hold on. And if it corrects to say 175 to 80 levels, so that will be a time to average also. Because I really like the business model also, a near monopoly model, and power sector, there are very few good options, where the quality of balance sheet and the quality of business is available. So, and at such a cheaper valuations, and the dividend yield and everything is very attractive. So it's a good bet, one should go with it. Yeah.
And the other query from him was on future consumer, or perhaps the entire play on retail.
See, I'm not very bullish on, the entire play of retail. Somehow, I really find the valuations very high. They are exorbitantly high. So, even if you talk about DMart also, I'm not very comfortable with buying these stocks, because the online disruption is so huge, so big, and the competition is also coming in, though they are actually getting brick and mortar also by tying up with them, and they are also buying in one of the group companies also, Future Group also. Amazon is actually planning to do this, but I feel that might not happen also. So I'm not very comfortable with the Future Group or any of the retail stocks. So somehow I won't recommend them for the long term.
Okay, thanks. We'll move on, take a question from Debarpan Sarkar. The question is on Syntex Plastics Technology, if I'm not mistaken. He wants a short-term view on this one. Don't forget that this stock has been on a constant decline. I'm looking at the chart for over the last 1 year, and it's come off from levels of around 90. I would be uncertain if whether or not this would be a good time to do any bottom fishing whatsoever in this one, considering its fundamentals, as each and every analyst will tell you, is weak. But Kunal, I'll take this one up with you. What would you do with the short term on this one? It's clearly on a decline, accounting the charts too.
Perfect. So if you look at the indicators, they are extremely oversold, and they are remaining oversold since now months and months. The stock is not able to make even a single higher top, higher bottom. So earliest entry point on the higher side, or say on the bullish side, would be say closing about 28, with average volume being higher than at least last 7 days volume. That would be the first criteria for me to look at the counter. Unless it gives a closing about 28 as per today's market price, I would not think of going long on this counter, and the stock may continue to remain weak. for longer period of time.
Okay, well, there you have it. I hope that helps. In fact, I would like to add that almost every single analyst I speak to, technical or fundamental, and their view on, at least as far as counters like Syntax Plus is concerned, is a void. But I'll move on, and we'll take the next one. And the next one is a long-term view on Visakha Industries. We have Anirudh Gupta, who says that he's bought Visakha Industries at 600 rupees per share. Now, this is not a very liquid stock from what I make, and it's currently trading at 463. Well, the viewer wants a long-term view on Visakha Industries. Sandeep, is this on your radar, Visakha Industries?
Yeah. All the stocks in this particular industry, asbestos industry, these are cement product industries like, Everest Industries or Hyderabad Industries, Visakha Industries, Ramco Industries. So these four have been my favorite picks, and in fact I have recommended them at much lower levels. If I talk about Everest Industries, we started recommending them at 120 levels, so it's I think 4-bagger from there. Visakha also was recommended at say below 100, I think around 200 levels. So Hyderabad Industries. So all these companies are actually doing very well. They are valued very cheaply. In fact, their valuations are very cheap, and I really find it very surprising also, and I find it very attractive also at the same time. Why not to buy these kind of stocks which are available at a 9 to 10 P multiple, and where they have a distribution network across the country and a fantastic product line also. And the best part is with this kind of distribution network, they can always, get in more building material products, and I'm extremely bullish on building material product. I feel that this sector is going to do well. The kind of plans the government has, 20 housing by 2020 or affordable housing. So these products are actually being used, and smart city and Swachh Bharat and all these are basically, this particular sector is a good beneficiary of all these schemes. And then I think that, one should certainly hold on to the stock, and when it goes down, he should be happy to, average it out.
All right, let's move in and talk about Indian Oil Corp then, because a lot of questions coming in from some of these OMCs. We have Dinesh Raja. He wants a short-term target on, Indian Oil Corp. Perhaps not in an intraday basis, perhaps over the next few days. Kunal, how do you see this one?
So, since the low-off which we saw in this particular sector, the stock made low of 105, and since then it's making clear higher top, higher bottom formation. If you're already holding the counter, hold with the stop loss of around 135 and exit near 155, because I feel 155 is a very strong resistance, and it would take, longer time to cross that resistance on the higher side.
Okay. We have another question on a fundamental basis from Chetan Thail. His question is, actually he has queries on 3, so I'm going to take one of them, each one of them one by one. Sandeep, very quickly, your view on Cadila Healthcare first, followed by CARE, and then Vedanta.
See, I'm bullish on the ratings industry. CARE, somehow I like the stock, and the kind of compliance the industry is actually witnessing, and I think, after this NBFC, debacle or whatever you say, ratings industry will have a big surge in their demand again. And I think they will have to now, meet up to the standards also, though they are already doing well. But I think the regulations will get more strict. So CARE will do well. Vedanta, somehow I feel that, it has actually corrected, and the portfolio, I really like the portfolio, though oil is coming down, base metals are coming down, but still, it's a good long-term story, and one can certainly hold on to the stock.
Okay, then, we move on, talk about possibly Vedanta very quickly. Sandeep, if you can give us your view on Vedanta as well.
Yeah, I just talked about Vedanta. I think Vedanta has actually corrected, and the levels are actually attractive, and the risk reward ratio looks good. So one can hold on to the stock, but not a fresh buy is recommended at this juncture, because the crude oil is actually corrected, so the sentiments are low. So I think there will be a time in say next 10 to 15 days or 20 days or a month or 2 months time where crude oil takes a base, and then one can enter into the stock.
Okay, we've reached that segment where, the segment's called Rapid Fire, and this is that segment where I would request our experts to keep their answers as short as possible so that we can get as many queries as possible. So we'll move on to the next one, and next one is from Haraja Hanumappa, and his question is on Godrej Consumer Products and entry price. Kunal, this one is for you.
So Godrej Consumer Product, I would think of either adding at near 675 mark or the fresh breakout above 760 mark.
Okay, let's pull up Yes Bank as well because Amit Sawant wants a short-term view on Yes Bank. So I'm going to take a technical check on this one. He says he's bought Yes Bank at 188. Should I book profit now, hold on for a bit longer? Kunal?
So in today's trading session also, this stock is doing fantastic, crossing couple of days high also. I would advise to keep the trailing stop loss of around 215 on a closing basis. Expect the stock to reach around 255.
Okay, well, we have Nayan Thakkar. He wants a view on Welspun India. He says, what are your thoughts? Sandeep, this one is for you, Welspun India.
See, I'm not very comfortable in buying this stock. There are lots of other options which I can go for. I think I'll go for Trident. That looks very attractive. So I'll buy Trident on declines rather than going for Welspun.
Okay, Sandeep, once again, Satish Raja wants a view on the prospects of Sun TV going forward. He asks, is it possible for it to move above 1,000 rupees per share?
See, the company has been doing very well. Surprisingly, you know, in the media stocks, this is one company which is actually giving good results also. This time also the results were good. The balance sheet is strong. But then I'm not very comfortable with, you know, the whole media stocks per se. And somehow, very frankly, the companies which are actually connected politically in a way, one way or the other, I don't know. But then somehow I try to, you know, stay away from those stocks. And that's how I somehow don't recommend this stock. But then this is a good quality company and I really like the results also, the balance sheet also. So one can hold on to the stock. But for fresh buying or from my side, I generally don't recommend.
Okay, Bharat Ranjan wants a short-term view on State Bank of India with a view or a horizon of 6 months. This one's for you, Kunal. You can take this one.
So again, short-term view from 6 months perspective, assuming a positional trader, you must have seen that the stock is not able to surpass 300 mark, and recently it fell from 300 mark itself. If you're a positional trader, think of, you know, somewhere taking a contra position. Go short on the counter, keeping the stop loss of 295 to 300. Expect the stock to reach 265, but above 300 mark, the stock can make high of around 345.
All right, unfortunately, guys, we've run out of time on the show, so I'm going to thank both our experts, Kunal and Sandeep, for helping our viewers with all the queries. And that's all that we have on this edition of Ask BQ. But remember, we're just a tweet, a call, or a post away, so keep your queries coming in. We'll have as many answer as possible. And you can, of course, log on to bloomberg.com to search for the Ask BQ hashtag and get all the answers to all the queries that were discussed. But up next is Power Lunch. Stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint, and we will keep bringing you more.